After an electrifying start to his Raptors career, Gary Trent Jr. has fallen off hard, annoying a lot of fans. So in today's video, we're going to break down why Raptors fans are wrong about Gary Trent Jr. Let's get into it. Welcome everybody to Amateur Hour Sports, your source for everything Raptors, from news to breakdowns to analysis and so much more. So if you're a Raptors fan and you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We are on a road to 7,000 subscribers and you can help us get there. But today we are talking about Gary Trent Jr. because after his first couple of preseason games, he has been littered through Raptors media, Raptors social media for fans, and I mean the team account in general has been posting a lot about Gary Trent Jr. because he quickly became a fan favorite after getting traded to the Raptors on trade deadline day, a trade that absolutely shocked many of us, including myself. I mean, I couldn't believe the Raptors got rid of Norman Powell like that to bring in Gary Trent Jr. It was a shock at first. I wasn't happy with the trade at first. In fact, I was quite unhappy with the trade at first. Maybe a lot of my concerns were the fact that we didn't do much else other than that trade, but Raptors fans, including myself again, quickly came around to this one as we started to really like Gary Trent Jr. because as we found out after seeing him play, this guy was a baller. He was knocking down threes, getting on the interior, playing solid defense. But the shooting and the shot creation is something that Raptors fans definitely liked. And it was something that we were definitely lacking over the course of the season, that real shot creator. And Gary Trent Jr. was that. It seemed like he was the exact thing that this team needed, which made Raptors fans fall in love with the player. We were calling him an absolute steal. We're talking about how Masai Ujiri pulled off an absolute masterclass again to get this trade off, because Gary Trent Jr. is much younger than Norman Powell. And as much as we loved Norman Powell and we loved him at the time, Gary Trent Jr. is a much younger player. And, as we were going into free agency, we thought that as a UFA, we might lose Norm. We can keep Gary Trent Jr. for less and restricted free agency. So maybe that was the thinking there. But also, Gary Trent Jr. was playing like he deserved to be involved in that trade. And Raptors fans were ecstatic. Many took to social media to voice their pleasure with the trade. Some going as far as saying, Gary Trent Jr. is so good, I am happy we have him. Or, Toronto keeping Gary Trent was a steal. He should have more offers for sure. Or even we go as far as to say the Toronto Raptors got something going. Gary Trent Jr. trade was a steal, and there were more things like that. I made a lot of videos talking about Gary Trent Jr. being a steal and whatnot. But Gary Trent, after a very good start to the Raptors, fell off a little bit in the regular season, and so far in the preseason, Raptors fans have been extremely upset with Gary Trent Jr.'s play because he struggled a little bit, and over the course of the offseason, there were certain things he needed to work on. His shot creation, for one, it was good, but did he force up a little bit too many shots? Can he take his foot off the gas at some points and take a smarter shot? His shot IQ is definitely lacking. I think that, honestly, we have seen a little bit of that so far in the preseason, because in the game against the Philadelphia 76ers, he shot 5 for 12 from the field, which, isn't the worst thing in the world, but he was 0 for 5 from 3 in that game, and he followed up with the game against the Celtics, 5 for 14 from the field with a not so great 2 for 7 from 3-point range. But one of those 3-pointers was a pretty nice buzzer beater at the halftime buzzer to give us the lead at halftime. And ultimately, the Raptors played a great game, and I'm happy with the performance. But Gary Trent Jr. could not and has not been able to escape the hate from Raptors fans over the course of preseason. After only 2 games, fans have gone as far as to have said things like this: Gary Trent is awful at basketball, and the Raptors willingly paid him $18 million, not a winning organization. Some have compared him to Danny Green, and there's all those jokes about Danny Green that I think are a little bit unfair as well, about him not hitting shots, but now we're putting Gary Trent in that category. Other things have said, like, Gary Trent Jr. might not be worth $7 million. Masai got finessed bad. Or even we go further. Somebody actually said that Svi Mykhailiuk is better than Gary Trent Jr. after watching 3 preseason games for Svi and 2 for Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. takes bad shots. He's inefficient, and what else does he do besides shooting? Gary Trent Jr. does a lot of ball watching on defense, and a lot more of these things. These are just a few of the tweets that I found online. You can go through Instagram, you can go through really any social media platform, and you see a lot of hate for Gary Trent Jr. And some of it isn't coming from Raptors fans, but a lot of it is. And a lot of it is from the Raptors fans who just a few months ago were calling this guy a steal, or we're in love with this player. And now that we absolutely hate this guy. I mean, it's been 2 preseason games. And this is where Raptors fans are wrong about Gary Trent Jr. And, going through an offseason of optimism kind of let me forget about the recency bias that a lot of the Raptors fan base has. Gary Trent Jr. has played 2 preseason games. We haven't really seen the most of him. Obviously, would I have liked that he played better in preseason? Yeah, it would have been nice if he was better than he was in the first 2 games because he was pretty inefficient in those games. But ultimately, Gary Trent Jr. is 22 years old. I think it's in the nature of young players to be generally inefficient at first, and then they figure out their game, figure out what's best for shot IQ and things like that. But to call him out and to just put him down like that after only a couple of games really does confuse me, because Gary Trent Jr. last season, I mean, this is what he did for the Raptors last season. He went in, he played 17 games for the Raptors. He averaged 16.2 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 1.3 assists, and the field goal percentage is a little bit of a letdown from his time with the Raptors, only 40% from the field. 35% from 3. That's pretty nice. But Fred VanVleet shot very similarly. So very similar to Fred VanVleet, but obviously that's not a good field goal percentage, and that needs to get better. It dropped down from the 41% that he had with the Portland Trailblazers, which also wasn't great either. But again, this is a young player. He's 22. He's younger than Malachi Flynn. Just put that through your mind. Malachi Flynn is older than Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. at 22 years old has a lot of room to grow, and he has a lot of potential. And signing him to a contract worth $18 million per year, I felt like that was the absolute max we should have given him. My cap for any money we give Gary Trent was $18 million. We got right up to the end of the budget, but that's still within my budget. So ultimately, I am content with that contract. And I think another thing that goes deeper for this Gary Trent thing is that he hasn't started yet. And we learned last season that Gary Trent Jr. is, for some reason, way better as a starter. After Goran Dragic has really underwhelmed. Also, why not start Gary Trent? Why not give Gary Trent to start in the shooting guard position? Because as a starter for the Raptors last season, Gary Trent Jr. was pretty goddamn impressive. 17 points per game for Gary Trent Jr. In fact, 17.7 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.5 assists in those 15 games as a starter. That's, I would say, a solid sample size. That's a solid sample size to compare. But then we go to his games off the bench. Only 2 of them, but they were significantly worse. Gary Trent Jr. averaged 4.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, and 1 steal off the bench. So Gary Trent Jr. typically thrives as a starter. Now, I will say he's got to figure out how to play off the bench if he's going to be in the NBA, because he's not going to be able to start everywhere. And he may not be able to start for this Raptors team all the time. But having a score off the bench, that would be nice. But Gary Trent Jr.'s element clearly has been as a starter. Even with Portland, when he became a starter with that team, he started to really shine, ultimately getting him involved in the trade for Norman Powell. So Gary Trent Jr. thrives as a starter, and we are not using him in the dynamic that he thrives in. Are there things that Gary Trent needs to work on in his game? Absolutely 100%. The shot IQ is something that really angers me. I mean, the 3-point percentage at 35% from last season was fine. Under 40% from the field, that's strictly coming down to the mid-range shots. Sure, he's good in mid-range. He takes too many of them. And, this is just coming from, oh, wow, the young guy talking about analytics. Well, the analytics reign true. The future is now, old man. And mid-range shots are statistically inefficient shot that does not help winning. So take it on if it's open, but do not force the mid-range shot. Can he get better at going to the rim? 100%, absolutely. But to call this guy done and finished, and the fact that it's a horrible contract when we're not even starting the season yet and he's 22 years old, that's crazy. A lot of you Raptors fans have forgotten that Gary Trent Jr. dropped a 44 piece on the Cleveland Cavaliers last season. You weren't saying anything negative then. So why is all of it just starting to come out now? This guy has played in 17 NBA games for the Raptors. I am definitely not calling this guy done. I am definitely not calling this a bad contract. Not yet. Gary Trent Jr. has a lot to prove, and I think that he is going to prove it over the course of the season with the Raptors. He is just one of the young players in this fantastic core of young players that the Raptors have at their disposal, and I think that Gary Trent Jr. is going to fix these things. He is going to become a better shooter from the outside. Not that he's a bad shooter. He's going to take smarter shots. He's not going to shoot as often because he's not going to settle for those bad shots. He's going to develop his defense. I think in preseason, he's already shown that he's a much better defender than he was in the last season. So Gary Trent Jr. is improving. He is going to continue to improve, and he is going to prove a lot of you doubters, a lot of you haters about his game are going to be proven wrong, because Gary Trent Jr. is a very good player. So what's your guys' take on Gary Trent Jr.? Are you doubting him and calling him out already after 2 preseason games? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And if you want more Raptors news, breakdown, media coverage, and so much more, make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Sports for the 4+ videos that we put out a week on this channel. The links beside me right now are our other channels. You can subscribe to Amateur TV for some vlogs about Raptors related endeavors and Toronto sports related endeavors. I'm going to be at the Raptors game tomorrow, and you can check out the vlog as I am at the game, plus Amateur clips, the best highlights from our Twitch streams, and we do a post-game show for every single game. Check those channels out, and we'll see you again next time for another video.